Welcome to Chapter 4, Part 3, where you're going to learn how to use the Live Distribute technique. So the first thing I need you to do is hide your guides. So we're going to go to View, Guides and Grids, and select Hide Guides. If yours says Show Guides, then that means your guides are already hidden. Now we are going to click the center reference point on our control panel, and then we are going to go to Edit, Select All, and then we're going to go to Edit and Copy, or Control-C, and then Edit and Paste in Place. And so now what you'll have is another set of squares on top of your current squares. So make sure that you don't deselect anything or click anywhere that you're not supposed to throughout this lesson, because it will become very important that you have the proper things selected for this to work. So now what we need to do is we need to rotate our boxes by 90 degrees. We could do that by selecting this little arrow, circular arrow at the top of our screen in the middle in our control panel. When we click that, our entire board is going to change to green. Now again, don't click anything unless you're told to in the video, because it will make things difficult. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go to your swatches panel. Make sure that your fill is active, and remember it's that solid box, and you're going to select the option of dark blue. You'll know your fill is not active if you don't have that dark blue option, and you're going to select dark blue just like this. So you have a checkerboard with green and blue. Now what you can do is you can deselect. You're going to go to Edit and then select All again. So it's going to select all of the squares, all 16 squares that you have in this image. And what you're going to do is you're going to press and hold Shift and Alt on the keyboard, and then you're going to click and drag the upper right handle of the bounding box towards the center of the page, and it's going to shrink everything. So holding Shift and Alt, we're going to click on that upper right hand, and we're going to click and drag in, and it's going to resize these boxes around the center point of the document. And you can release your mouse and then release Shift and Alt. Now we're going to click and drag the upper right corner of the bounding box towards the upper right corner of the document. While we're dragging, we're going to press and hold the space bar. So we're going to start to drag and then press and hold the space bar. And what happens is now it's going to distribute the boxes between the spaces to make them smaller or larger depending on whatever direction that we were to drag. So then you can release your mouse and then release the space bar, and you're going to have these gaps in between your boxes now. So now we're going to resize the document using our Shift, Alt, and Space. So I want you to hold down, or start to drag, and then hold down Shift, Alt, and Space. After you start to drag, don't drag very far, but now I want you to drag to the edge of the document so that we can get our boxes to go to each edge. So remember, starting to drag, if we need to come down to this bottom hand corner, don't drag very much, and then hold Shift, Alt, and Space, and trying to get it to fit within our document. If we need to move it, we can, and then Shift, Alt, and Space again if we need to. And it should look something similar to mine. So using those techniques, we'll adjust the spacing in between those boxes and do a live distribution of our shapes. So now what we are going to do is pretty much the same step that we were doing before, but we're just going to drag them in and try and minimize those gaps. So we're going to hold down Shift and Alt again, and then start to drag in, and then we're going to add in space so that we can close up those gaps. We still want a little bit of gap in between our boxes, but not too big. And then you're going to release your mouse and then release your keys. If you release your keys first, it won't hold its shape. So please save your work here, and remember, don't do a file save as, just a file save, and it's still last name, comma, first name orientation, but you will need this document for Part 4. So please move on to Part 4.